record button. Wow. There you go, Sarah.
Thank you, Evie. Through the magic of the internet and all the recording things and magic buttons that Evie presses, she's like the great and powerful Oz back there. Welcome, everybody. Happy Wednesday, July 24th. We have one more Wednesday in the great month of July, and then we head into August. Tomorrow is like Christmas in July, if that's something fun. If you saw the Black Friday in July sales coming out, if you're shopping your brains out, you're going to get to that this weekend. We have a fabulous meeting lined up for today, an amazing interview that Broker Bob is doing with Dan Becker. Everyone wants to tune in and hear this, so congratulations for being here. I know our latecomers will get to watch the recording part of the beginning later. And we've got a little game to play and some event stuff to talk about. So let's get to it and start with our welcomes. And this week we are welcoming Asia Tinney, who is Babakar's wife. Welcome, Asia. We are so happy to have you and love having the spouse team dynamic duo getting fired up to get started with Metro. Congratulations and welcome to the family. Does anybody have a bucket to fill to start off today? Something you want to share that's good and joyful? Like Alicia probably wants to share that she finally got home from Minnesota. Let me put the precursor out there, you guys. I don't know about this whole global outage wackiness. Every once in a while, my Zoom glitches. Jacqueline is on standby to take over if anything weird happens, but it's only been like little bits here and there. I don't know what's going on. So anybody have something joyful? Mark Miller, go for it.
You know, all of you probably know that there's new forms and new training available. I have to tell you all, these people at CAR Legal have just been amazing and have been a super great resource to everyone in our industry. They have been working ever since this NAR settlement came out to come out with all sorts of training and education and forms and everything for our practice standard changes. And I just want to give them, you know, 2 hands up.
I love that, Mark. And I'm going to give props to you and Robert in advance because there has been a lot going on lately. And you two are steering the ship and providing the information and sharing the most meaningful, valuable data information all the time. You guys, I have to tell you, those CAR Legal platforms, like they are explaining it simply. You get the recording. The webinar is just so informative, and I highly suggest you're attending. Go back and rewatch it. It's bite-sized pieces, one by one. Again, you're going to see later, I think this is opportunity knocking at our door and nothing to actually be afraid of, as long as you're tuning in and learning. Oh, did I glitch?
You paused.
I paused. Here I am. Yay. Okay. Awesome, Mark. Thanks for that shout out. Evie, let's get to our training. Oh, let's get to our profit share celebration slide, actually.
Yes. Here you go.
Okay, y'all, this is majorness. We just passed $2 billion in profit share shared back in the United States and Canada since the beginning. 2 billion with a B. That's right, Jacqueline. And there's something I want to say that's really important. There's a couple things. I don't have enough words. There is directions on the side. If you're like, what is that? How do I participate in that? I'm going to have a wealth building class on the calendar in August. You will be able to attend, understand, learn more. If profit share is something, if passive income is something you're interested in, you want to be participating. I've heard some people say things like, well, I had to join a long time ago. None of those things are true. In fact, the first billion with a B was made over the first 33 years as a company. The second billion with a B was made in the next 7 years. So we're earning faster and making money faster and sharing more faster as we grow exponentially as a company. We're the largest company under one brand on the globe. And so I just want everyone to understand, don't let any of that chatter make you think one way or another. Everyone has equal opportunity to passive income. And I'll tell you the one thing, I always got checks. They were little bits here and there, magic money deposited passively into my account. And then there was the month where all of a sudden I had nearly $3,000 deposited. And I was like, whoa, that is something different. So look out for the class in August. Come to it. I want you to understand Jacqueline provided us with this simple conversation when you're closing deals. This will be posted on our Facebook group as well. I want you all to have an opportunity to invite people you like to work with us, and to be able to earn money as a gift back from doing it. Okay, so yay for 2 billion with a B. Oh, and Keller Williams San Diego Metro, our share of that is just under 1.7 million total, came from our KW Metro office. So yeah, yes. All right, now let's get to our trainings. There's a lot going on with training. So Ethan is coming in to do the new KW email templates and newsletter workshop. He is saying, please come in person, bring your laptop. That's tomorrow. I was like, wait a minute, that's tomorrow, 1 to 2:30. That is come in person. He is hands-on. Anyone who's come to his sessions is coming away with like takeaway knowledge, implementing in the moment, do now activities. If this is your jam, get your booty in that room tomorrow from 1 to 2:30 and bring your laptop, please. And thank you. Real estate conversations. All right, y'all, this is important. Raise your hand digitally, because I can't see you all. If anyone who is on the call right now is going to these classes or has been at all to the 8:30 to 9 sessions. Bridget, can you come off and tell me something, because it's so different than what I think people might know, and I want everyone to understand why it's important that they go.
Yeah, I mean, it's really different. You every day you have a different script you're focusing on, or a different topic. They tell you what it is in advance. You can go in, you can get some training on it, and then you show up at 8:30. They talk for a few minutes, and then you go into small breakout rooms and you practice it. And it's not like you're practicing the same, open house script every single time or something like that. You're talking about all different kinds of scenarios, real life things that are happening. And I think it's actually really helpful.
Awesome. Thank you. And then Stephanie, I saw your hand go up. I know you've been a frequent flyer. Can you give us some takeaways from your experiences, please?
Yeah, I think that sometimes you hear things that you already know, but it's really good to reiterate them and to continue to hone your skills, especially first thing in the morning. It really gets my head in the game for focusing on work for the rest of the day and gets me started on the right foot.
Thank you for that. Yeah, so I didn't warn anyone. I was going to ask them to talk. I just wanted to be authentic and come from the heart. The reason I'm asking these questions, you guys, is it's free for you all to attend as part of the Market Center. The Market Center does bear a cost though. And so just like we encourage you to be strong business owners, we are doing the same thing. We feel like we need to see like 25 agents attending to justify the cost to pay for it. I want to encourage you to understand, to dive in there. It's not just log on and listen to scripts. It's do it. It's action. It's templates. It's collateral. It's buyers presentations and sellers presentations and all the things you'd possibly need to run your business. But Evie's actually going to pop a poll up now, and I'm going to ask for complete participation from everybody on board, and just vote. Would you be interested in attending going forward? Yes or no, or you're already signed up and attending the training. Please vote, and it will automatically submit when you're done, when you press submit, and then that'll be that, and we will move on from there. Your votes are helpful to help us mind our dollars and spend in the right places. Yeah, so take it from Bridget and Stephanie. And if you guys have questions about it, please reach out to them or ask me who else is attending, or just pop in. It's free to you to go learn and do and be better from the materials. And the fact that he shows you every day what you're talking about is super important. So if you don't want to learn that topic, you don't go that day, right? Okay, thumbs up. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, sweet. We have Broker Bob. Don't be confused. Broker Bob is running the interview today, but it is not risk management. It's Broker Bob's interview with Dan on the transaction they had and some magical things you're going to hear from it. We are still doing risk management next week. And if we all recall what Mark said in the beginning, we might or might not have some new forms coming out to do our business with. So please stay tuned. Please stay dialed in. And you're going to want to be in the room with Broker Bob next week for risk management in person, in the room, out of the Zoom screen. Make sure you're there. And then last but not least, I cannot believe we're talking about August, but we are knocking on the door next Friday. Mega Camp is in 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks, I think. So it is August 12th through 15th. The room block has already passed. If you see the registration QR code there if you want. If you have questions, reach out after. We can help you get all set up. If you miss the room block for hotels, people are often, that's what happens when you match always and often, you make often, sharing like rooms, people who have last minute cancellations, or there's people who want to share, or whatever the case might be. There's also no shortage of hotel rooms in Austin. You just might not have the best deal. We will work with you to help you navigate that if you still want to go but didn't book your spot yet. The other piece of that is the price goes up August 1st, which is next Friday. So if you didn't get your ticket yet and you want to go, please get your ticket. There's 10 of us registered so far right now. People used to think that Mega Agent Camp, it used to be. People think that Mega Agent Camp is invite only and you have to be a Mega Agent to attend. It used to be that way. And what Gary Keller did a few years back is say, well, every agent has the opportunity to become a Mega Agent if they should choose. So let's open it up to all. It's smaller, it's faster. If family reunion is like overwhelming and a lot for you, this is the one for you. So Mega Camp, 12th through the 15th, that's actually the full spread, the true meat and bones of the, sorry if you're a vegetarian, but I said meat and bones of the meeting is the 13th and 14th. So you could fly in Monday and fly home Wednesday night. And our very own Bridget Potterton will be walking the stage as the cultural ambassador for the Southern California region. Woo! So I just want to plant that seed, get in there, ask questions if you have them. Got it? Got it. All right. Market of the moment. We used to, it's so funny. I was thinking about when did we start doing market of the moment, and it started when the market started shifting, which you guys was now like 3 years ago. It's super crazy. Maybe it was 2 years ago. Anyway, it was a long time ago. And we started doing micro markets and talking about what goes on with the most important conversation this week in the market. Obviously, we have stats once a month. Obviously, we have broker conversations. What I want you guys to all be able to have a chance to do is hear from each other on like what's most important, multiple offers, no offers, days on market, things are sitting, yada, yada, yada. That's what we're going to be doing weekly in the market of the moment conversations. Today's market of the moment, however, is going to be all about our fabulous, hold on, let me get ready to share my screen and drive the bus. Our fabulous changes we're making to, all right, can you see my screen of Kahoot?
Yeah.
Yay! Get out your phones and scan that QR code, y'all. We are going to play a quiz game for Market of the Moment today. And that is going to be all about the NAR forms and the BRBC and the changes that are coming. And afterwards, if you get some wrong, don't worry, you're not being graded, but we will have the, hold on, I need that. We will have the PDF to share all the actual details. So go ahead and scan the QR code, get ready. You're going to pop on up there, and then we're going to go through, it's only 6 quick questions, you guys. It's going to be fun. So get to getting, and we are going to play a game. Oh my gosh, the magic of the internet and fun things that happen. Player limit reached. What? All right, I don't know. I thought I set it up the right way, but transparently, you guys, I just did it today. So let's get to the game. The questions will pop up on the screen, and then this is 24 days till opportunity because 24 days from now is August 17th, right? So let's get going with our questions. Question number 1, are buyer representation agreements required? The options are, yes, they have always been. No, but they will be beginning August 17th. It's up to the agent to decide. Or no, but they will be starting August 1st. Do, 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 do. You're going to have 20 seconds each time, and then we'll go automatically through to the next one. All right, we got some yeses on both sides. Let's see what's next. Scoreboard. Bridget's in the lead. Awesome. This is fun. Fun for all. What requirements must be met for a broker to earn the stated compensation under the BRBC? Buyer must enter into agreement to acquire the type of property described. Buyer must purchase during the time period or extension of the agreement. Broker must give buyer a closing gift, or both A and B.
Is B the
Well,
blue
yeah.
one or the yellow one?
I mean, it's the two that will probably be right. I realize that they're not A's and B's, they're diamonds and triangles and stuff. But yes, it would be the blue one. It's our first time, so we're going to do it, right? And then it's going to get better every time we play a game. That much I can promise you. All right, SoCal Dan is taking the lead on that one. Guessing Bridget was looking for her question to be answered. And Victor's in second place. Good job, Victor. Where do I enter the amount of compensation that the buyer is to pay the buyer's broker? Is it paragraph 2E1 of the BRBC, paragraph 16 of the BRBC? Is it both red and blue, or is it neither red or blue? Which one is the answer? Bum, bum, bum. We have a bunch of us are saying red. One of us is saying both A and B. One of us, this is fun, you guys. This is fun. That was a little bit tricky. I don't know who Yo-Yo is, but I'm excited to find out at the end. Congrats, Yo-Yo. Under the BRBC, a buyer and broker can enter into an exclusive or non-exclusive relationship. What's the difference? In exclusive, broker has the right to compensation even if buyer acts alone. Under non-exclusive, a prerequisite to earning commission is broker involvement. In exclusive, broker has the right to compensation even if the buyer uses a different broker, or all of the above. Yay! 100% on that beautiful one with all of the above. Excellent work. Yo-Yo's on a streak. I might be a game show host in my next life. I make the BRBC an exclusive agreement by checking box in paragraph 2A2 and buyer must initial exclusive representation box. Is that what makes it an exclusive agreement? True or false? By checking the box in paragraph 2A2 and buyer initialing exclusive representation box. True or false? The suspense is almost too much to bear. Oh my gosh, we've got 100% on true. Excellent work, my people. Excellent work. Oh, and SoCal Dan takes the lead on that one. Very interesting. Last but not least, what does broker involvement mean under the BRBC? Buyer physically entered and was shown the property by the broker. Broker showed the property to buyer virtually via like a Zoom walkthrough, not like, hey, here's a listing. Broker submitted to seller a signed written offer from the buyer, and or green, all are possible answers. Oh my gracious, we are done. And with that, my friends, 24 days till opportunity is over. In third place, we have Bridget. In second place, we have Victor. And in first place, we have SoCal Dan. Thanks for playing, friends. Okay, my apologies. I didn't realize that the player limit, I thought I clicked the other button, so you couldn't all get in there. But was it fun? Did we feel like we tested ourselves? Did we learn a little something? We'll do Market of the Moment every week. It won't always be a Kahoot quiz. Don't be scared. And I won't always pretend I'm Pat Sajak and Vanna White rolled into one. But sometimes I might. All right, Jacqueline, save us all and give us the escrow partner spotlight, would you?
I will. I would be happy to. We are very excited this week to spotlight Mike Law. He just opened escrow with us. So congratulations, Mike. We are very excited for you. And that is an agent that we have seen continue to grow his business. So we are very, very excited for you, Mike. Congratulations. And the second thing that I wanted to share today is an option for you guys. So obviously at Escrow Partners, we have also been talking about all of the changes that you guys are implementing on the agent side of the business. So from an escrow side, one of the things that we are happy to do, if you choose to in your business model, is that you can reach out to us. So if you are going into a listing presentation, you can call Nicole, you can call Christine, you can call me, and I will patch you through to them. You can ask us for net sheets. You can ask us for more than one net sheet. So say, for example, you give us all of the details for the net sheet, and then you say, hey, lovely ladies of Escrow Partners, can you please give me 2 different sheets? At one, I would like you to do this low amount of concessions. I'm going to have you determine that with the numbers that you think are appropriate, whether that be a flat rate or a commission. Then I'm going to say, okay, Escrow Partners team, the other net sheet, everything stays the same, but please use this amount that me as the agent in my business model, I deem to be on the high end of concessions that a seller might consider. That way, when you go into your listing presentation, you'll come in with 2 different net sheets and you'll be able to say, hey, I don't know yet what will be in those offers because that will be between the buyer and the buyer's agent. They are having a separate negotiation conversation before they even come in to see your property. So because I don't know exactly what that will be, I want to prepare you for all scenarios. So I've actually done 2 scenarios with my Escrow Partners team. Here's 2 different options. It could be less, it could be more, it could be somewhere in the middle, but I just want to prepare you for this conversation because we'll need to have it when we review offers. So that way you get your seller client focused on what the net is that they're going to take home. So just wanted you guys to know my escrow officers are prepared to do this for you. We will just ask that because every agent's business model is different, you let us know what you want that low number and that high number to be as we create those 2 net sheets for you. So this is available now. Reach out. QR code is there if you need contact info, or grab me in the DMs of the Zoom and I'll get that for you.
Thank you, Jacqueline. And who is on from Movement? Matt, I saw you in the chat. Who's here to give us a Movement Mortgage update?
What's up, everybody? How you
Hey,
guys
Eddie.
doing? It's good to see your faces, even though it's in 2D instead of 3D. Yeah, so just want to let you guys know that we are officially up to 30 different broker partners out there. Believe it or not, we're not just a bank. We have the ability to broker. Our jumbo team is like off the charts. Our pricing now is literally like neck and neck with some of the biggest banks out there, but we can do all sorts of different loans, cross collateralization loans. We have interest only loans, you guys, home equity lines of credit. We're not just like cookie cutter, like FHA, VA, conventional, maybe some jumbo mixed in there. Investor only, like DSCR loans, you guys. Shoot, there's so many different types of loans that we can do. I just want to make sure that you guys are aware that if you have anything, any weird scenario for any one of your clients, please don't hesitate to give us a call and we can try to find a home. What is DSCR? It's debt service cost ratio. And basically what it does is for an investor, I'm using that loan right now. They look at your credit and they look at your money down. They don't look at your income to qualify for that purchase. They look at the income from the property that you're purchasing. So as long as the income comes within 75% of the mortgage from the rental income, they'll do the loan. Rates are floating right around the low 8s, I would say, for those types of loans. But that's pretty much any kind of investment product out there. So there's not really much of a difference from an investment standpoint or using a DSCR loan, but it allows for, those self-employed borrowers that have money in the bank that want to buy an investment property that are writing everything off and don't have that income to qualify for a traditional purchase. Do you have no repayment loans? Yes, Bob, we have no repayment loans. You don't have to worry about making any payments whatsoever. Bob, I love you, man. USDA loans, yes, absolutely. There's a new loan that just came out not too long ago for all those that were impacted by the fires. from 2018 and 2020 in very particular counties. I think I've shared this information. Movement is now officially like ready to go and live with this loan. It's called Recover CA. And it's up to $350,000 for folks that were impacted by the fires, to help them. It's fully forgivable after 5 years to help them recover with these. So I just want to put it out there that, hey, we are not like a one or two trick pony. We can do a ton of different types of loans. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Also, I'm going to post in our Facebook page. I hope you guys can help me build a curriculum for this fall. Movement Mondays. We're bringing it back this fall. Hopefully, we're going to get some attendance of you guys on Monday mornings. This is my channel that I have. I just dropped it into the chat. There's 35 different classes that I've taught over the past year and a half with you guys. If there's any kind of ideas beyond what we've done already that you guys would like to learn about, would like to see, please let us know. I'll put up a question in the Facebook page, and if you guys can respond to different types of classes that you'd like to see, I'll go out there and bring in the appraisers and the 1031 exchanges and the trust attorneys and do whatever you guys want to learn about. I'll help you guys with it. So
awesome, Eddie. Thank you so much.
That's
We
my-
love that. And speaking of trust attorneys, Bridget Potterton has a culture committee update coming live. I couldn't have made that transition better if I tried.
You see how I worked that one in there?
Yes, ask and you shall receive. Thanks, Eddie. So next week on Wednesday, our next team meeting, just before the team meeting, we are going to have Michael Morales. He works for Chokar Law Group, which is they're known for a lot of their high end. They work with some really incredible high net worth individuals that I can't name names, but they also work with people like us too. So they focus on trust estates. They also do litigation. And so Michael's going to be talking to us about things that we need to talk about and the things that we need to be aware of when we're talking to our clients about how they're taking title. And more importantly, one area where I know I failed is talking to my clients after they have bought the house and talking about trusts and should they put their property in a trust or not, right? We're not really equipped to give them legal advice because we're not attorneys, but it's important for us to know the basics so that we can educate them and then refer them to the right person to make a good decision. So Michael will be there. He will start at 12:15, but let me tell you something. Attorneys are not like realtors. They start on time. So make sure that if you know you tend to run late, I'm telling you right now, we're starting at noon. So be there at noon and we'll start at 12:15. He's going to be bringing us lunch. So it's going to be a long, exciting day. I can't think of anything more exciting than learning about trust and then having Broker Bob teach us all about the NAR lawsuit. So it is going to be a great day. Buckle up and we'll see you all next Wednesday at noon.
That is absolutely fantastic. And once again, speaking of Broker Bob, take us away, Robert. What's new in Land of Broker updates?
Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday. So as Mark said earlier, the new forms are out, released on Zip Forms. Mark will get the templates made over the weekend to have those released. So we'll send those out so you can import them into your Zip Forms for the templates. If you are doing a transaction between now and before you do the templates, you need to make sure get the required documents list that is available on the Google Drive, or send an email to us and we'll email it to you. If you have an existing listing that is active but not in escrow, the recommendation is to get the new listing agreement codified and put into place. And on that listing agreement, go ahead and say this replaces the old listing agreement dated such and such and such and such. If you have a listing that is not active on the MLS and you have a authorization to exclude, just go get a new listing agreement. It's just going to be a lot easier. If you do have an active listing, you should be getting the disclosure and modifications for the listing agreement, the DM-LA. If it's active in the MLS and pending, get that disclosure modification for the LA signed. So you don't need to get a new listing agreement for that. I know it's all confusing. Reach out to me if you have troubles, but if you're a listing agent, just call me. If you have some BRBCs out there, you need to get them re-signed with the new one. That's going to be the easiest. Those are buyers that are not in escrow. So go today, download the new BRBC and just get your new BRBC signs with all of your buyers you're working with. Why do we want you to do this today? Because you're probably going to be working with these buyers past the August deadline. And so you're going to run across where there will be no offer of compensation in the MLS. And you need to have that defined now. Because if you're going to write an offer after August 17th, then you're kind of up shit creek without a paddle because you didn't get the new BRBC. And make sure you have full transparency with your people about who's going to pay the commission if the seller's not paying. I'm already getting questions from people on that. What do I do if they want to write an offer on a property that the broker's not offering compensation? You need to have that conversation now, today. Also, now you're all going to have to learn command because now you've got to upload those BRBCs into a command opportunity with each and every buyer. Don't expect your TCs to do it because guess what? You're going to be working with a lot of buyers that probably won't be going into escrow. And it's unfair to ask the TCs to be doing administrative work for you because that's not their role. So if you have not learned how to do command and create an opportunity, you're going to learn really quick. Log into your command. There's an ask applet in there to say, how do I create an opportunity? It'll walk you through it. But we're now required to keep all these BRBCs on file, and that's stored up in the command technology. There's a lot there. Probably sorry if I'm sounding really grumpy, but you all are coming at me today with stuff, and I'm just up here with escrow challenges too. Because I don't know, there's something going on in the universe because there's a lot of escrow challenges going on. So I don't mean to sound grumpy. I'm just being authoritative and telling you what you guys got to do. Don't read in between the lines. I just have a lot on my plate today. Back to you, Sarah.
Robert, thank you. I can vouch for BBs, y'all. The universe is going amok with the energies lately. So keep doing your best. You can control your action and your mindset, and that is it. Keep doing your best and reach out to us for support and conversations. We will all navigate these changes together. And some of these hassles aren't even about what we're talking about with the car forms changes. Okay, so reach out, ask for help when you need it. We will help you navigate as best as possible. I asked anyone to raise hands if you have a major property pitch you want to share today. I'm not seeing any hands go up. So if there are no further needs, then I would say, please post it in the chat and on the Facebook page, and let's give BB and Dan Becker the time they need. Yes, Ashley said send Broker Bob chocolate. I won't condone alcohol as a gift because, you know, that's not my job, but you guys do what you think is right.
I'll take alcohol with chocolate. Just send it off.
Broker Bob, take it away and let's get into this great meeting today.
All right. I appreciate everybody's time today. I have a great agent on the call today that's going to walk through how he prevailed in court with the transaction. And we're going to walk through the transaction so you understand exactly what he did and the steps he took. And I'm really excited about this because this is the type of stuff that I harp to no end whenever I have risk management meetings is document. And because our great agent, Dan Becker, did such a great job at documentation, and this was from a transaction a couple of years ago, he was even still documented to that point, and he did it right. So I'll give you a small background, but I'm going to have Dan explain the bigger detail. But we had a buyer come back that bought one of Dan's listings, and the buyer was accusing Dan of misrepresenting the square footage. So I will preface with square footage. Square footage is a huge issue when it comes to post-close transaction issues. There was a huge case settled a couple of years ago, and Mark, if you could put in the chat if you know what the case was, because I can't remember. We talked about it so much, but it was a dual agency with a Coldwell Banker franchise up in Malibu, and this huge multi-million-dollar home was advertised at like 20,000 square feet, and there was actually only 15,000 square feet. And it ended up being a huge case and a big settlement because of the square footage being off. And so I will say this before we get into Dan's story is if you take a listing and you input it into the MLS and you're unsure of the square footage, you need to make sure that when you input it into the MLS, you cite the source. You cite the source where you got that. Did you get it from the assessor's record? Did you get it from the seller? Did you get it from an appraisal report? And then put it in the confidential remarks where it came from, but make sure that that is communicated very effectively and outspoken in a transaction file that the square footage, we don't know if it's correct. That's why we want you, Mr. Buyer, to make sure you satisfy and understand what the real square footage is, because it could be a big problem. And we're seeing that with a lot. I get a lot, about probably 2 to 3 a month, of agents bringing a transaction to the market that's a listing and the square footage is off because it's a 800 square foot North Park bungalow that had the garage turned into a bathroom or something like that. And the seller says, no, I want to advertise all the square footage, but you can't find it. And assessor's records usually aren't 100% accurate. So without further ado, Dan, how's the heat box today?
Yes, exactly. But I'm just looking at how red my face is. I showed 12 properties out in the sun yesterday and I got a little sunburn. But okay. So broker Bob kindly enough called me in December and said, hey, did you know that you're being sued? And I said, no, I did not. I had been served a subpoena at the office and I didn't know what the hell was going on. So he shared with me the information in the subpoena. And I'm like, I don't even know who that person is because it wasn't my client. I'd never worked with them directly. I had a listing in Hillcrest and this was the buyer of that home. And he was suing me for willful misrepresentation of square footage. In having the conversation with broker Bob, I was able to remember some of the conversations and some of the information that I had because this was a challenging transaction in general. And I do remember a square footage issue coming up during the transaction. So one of the things that I do for myself, I know the brokerage saves all of the documentation that we upload into the system, but that's not always everything. Like they don't have my text messages. They don't have any of that information, but I put everything I can into a Google Drive folder. I literally, if you go to my Google, I have a transactions past folder and each of my folders of all the work that I'm doing for all of my clients get put into that transaction folder. So one of the things I'm here to talk about, as irritating as Robert and Mark can be because they want us to document everything, they're doing it to protect us, right? They are doing it for a purpose. And I'm the first person that will push back against some of the documentation that they want if I don't feel it's really needed. But I generally err on the side of what they want because they've been through a lot more of this than I ever have. In December, I'll have been in the business for 15 years, and this was the first time I'd gotten sued. And I was so grateful to have all of that documentation available to me. Now, this transaction had happened literally the day that I went to court was one day before the 5-year anniversary of the close of the transaction. So this was an old transaction, and the statute of limitations is 3 years on these transactions. But I still got drug into court for that process.
Let me clarify statute of limitations for your guys' knowledge.
Yes.
It's 3 years from date of discovery. In other words, if the buyer lived in that house for a year and didn't discover it for a year after close of escrow, then it would have been 3 years from that date. Okay.
Yes. So one of the things that had come up that I remembered in my memory because the buyer was a pain in my patootie was that the agent was very fed up with her buyer, the buyer's agent. She had helped him with multiple transactions. They'd fallen out multiple times, and she was having a real hard time with him on this one. And she said, if this one falls through, I'm not representing him anymore because he's finding issues that don't exist anywhere. And when we got the appraisal back, the appraisal was off by a couple of square feet versus what I had pulled from the appraisal's information in the MLS. So That's the very first thing I have to say. When you're putting a listing in and you have the option of pulling the data from the records, the county records, please do that. How many of you have actually had a client say, well, the garage was converted, but so we want to include that square footage, and so you have to make up that square footage number? I see it in listings all the time, right? When you go out and you're showing buyers property, you see that all the time, that the square footage isn't actually accurate. What they have in the MLS doesn't reflect what's in the tax records. You have to protect yourself on this. And that's what's so important here. So I remember the agent saying to me that the appraisal was off by a little bit, and was there maybe something to do with the outdoor back patio that had been enclosed or something? And so I said, I don't know the answer to that, but I kept my chain of my text messages to her. I kept my emails to my clients. I kept my emails to her to have as much documentation as possible. Even when it became a bigger issue, she offered to go to the county records to assess what why the county showed it as that square footage. Okay. And in doing that, I have an email and a text from my clients giving her permission to do that. But then once she was at the county assessor's office, they required her to have an actual document signed by my sellers, since she wasn't a party to the actual property. So in addition to that, I have a DocuSigned document from my sellers giving her permission to look at what was going on. So there was a whole series of documentation that went on. What I want to talk about a little bit was the court side of things, because we can document all we want, but going to court scared the shit out of me. That was scary, right? But it was both scary from like just being in court in front of a judge and being accused of something wrong. But it was also scary emotionally for me, because I really pride myself on taking the best care I can of my clients and my professional reputation, because in this industry, your professional reputation is everything. And I was worried that this could damage that reputation for me, right? So there's a lot of emotional factors that went into this, as well as the documentation side of things. So it was really important to me to get all of my ducks in a row and get everything ready. So when I showed up in court, I have this lovely document with 13 tabs of documentation supporting what I was doing. And one of the things that I learned, this is small claims court. So he was going after me personally in small claims court for $10,000, which is the maximum that you can sue somebody in small claims court. If he had been suing a business, if he'd been suing the brokerage, Robert, do you know what it is? I want to say it's $6,000.
So let me just point out, so this plaintiff went to small claims because it's a lot cheaper that way. But what he wanted to do was, he was actually, when he sued Dan, he was actually suing us, the company.
Mm-hmm.
But if he went after Dan individually, the max amount is $12,500. But if he was to sue the company, which technically he should have, the max is $6,250. But the amount he was suing for was $10,000. And $10,000 is the E&O deductible that if we had to get attorneys involved, which we don't with small claims, that's the difference too. Why we said, I did have to tender this to our E&O carrier because they have to know about it. And through their guidance, they said, well, go ahead and go to small claims court, because it doesn't make sense to get an attorney involved, because automatically we have to cut a $10,000 check. So that's why we went through the small claims court route. This is very rare that we end up in small claims. And I'm glad we did on this case, because it was much more effective. So go ahead, Dan.
So the process was this. So I learned a lot. So if anybody ends up in small claims court, even for the littlest thing, please reach out to me, because I learned a lot about that process and would be happy to walk you through it. But the main thing that I learned is that packet of information that I put together, I needed one packet for myself, one packet for the gentleman that was suing me. Gentleman is such a nice term. And the one for the judge, right? Because I wanted to be able to do that. What I didn't know before I went is that I was supposed to have submitted that information in advance to the court, so that the judge had an opportunity to review it before my case even came up. But in small claims court, they're very flexible about these things. And so they allowed me to do that at the time. And the person suing me had nothing. He had done two separate appraisals. The original appraisal that he had the appraiser come out after he closed and redo it because he didn't believe the square footage was right. And then a couple of months later, he had a separate appraiser come out individually as well. And in the court process, I found out that he had actually sued the first appraiser and had the first appraiser pay him some kind of damages for doing the appraisal wrong. So it was quite the process. But one of the things I want to do, if I'm able to share, see here.
Evie, can
You
you
can
give
share,
him?
Dan. Yeah, you're good. You're good. You can share.
Perfect. All right. I'm going to share with you guys some of the documents that I did. Okay. Let me make this larger. Are you guys able to see this document that I have up?
Yep, we see it,
Okay.
Dan.
So this is just the table of contents for this packet that I did. And how I chose to do this was kind of in order of the way that things happened in the transaction, because in my mind, that's how my mind worked. So the very first thing I had, though, was a letter that Robert and the brokerage wrote for me, defending me in court. And then the next thing I had was the buyer's duty to investigate. And I had the buyer inspection advisory document listed there. And in that buyer's inspection advisory that we have all of our clients sign when you're a buyer, one of the first, I think it's within the first 3 items, it specifically states that square footage is the responsibility of the buyer to investigate. So I had that document. And then as we go down, then we kind of get into this timeline of the transaction. So I took the listing on November 14th of 2018. The listing went live on December 4th of 2015. But what I had from that original listing was the listing overview that when we are supposed to have the MLS printout for our buyers to acknowledge and sign, that's what this is, right? So I had entered it in the MLS and I had it for my clients to review and make sure all of the information that I had put in there was correct. So I had that. Then I also had the actual MLS agent view and the MLS client view, both initialed by my clients. So they could see what agents view when they look in the MLS, and they can see what clients view when they look in the MLS. And then I also had the tax records that I had pulled before I took the listing. So I think the listing came live in December. I think that the preliminary or the tax records were pulled in October because we had started talking back then about the listing coming live. And then I also had a copy of the preliminary title reports. So this is all stuff that we use every day, right? When we have a listing. So then as we go through our transaction, we have when I received the offer from the buyer who is suing me, when the counter offer was sent and accepted, the day we opened escrow, the day that he did the home inspection, the day that his appraisal came in. And by the way, even though the appraisal came in slightly under square footage, I don't remember the difference off the top of my head, but it came in at value. The house appraised regardless. And in every appraisal that he did, the house appraised regardless of the square footage. So the square footage was irrelevant. So then around the 15th is when I had permission for the buyer's agent. I have the text chain giving her permission to go to the county records and search the permits. I have the email with the permission from my buyers for her to retrieve the permits. And then I have the document that my clients had to sign, giving them permission to view those documents at the county records office. And then I have the first contingency release was everything except the loan. So he released all of his inspections, all of his everything. And then I had his full inspection contingency there. And then I noted that on the final walkthrough and when the sale closed, right? And then the final thing I put in my packet was my request for reimbursement of time and expenses for occurring in court. Okay. Any questions about any of that? Is there anything that anybody wants to see specifically?
I will,
Yeah.
I do want to comment, text chains are great. Dan's really good at communication. Also, an email chain is the best for anything that's a material fact that pops up through the transaction. And Dan took note of that right away, and he made sure that was communicated in writing. I can't tell you how many cases that unfortunately, that has cost an agent the $10,000 deductible, where they say to me, well, I told them this. I'm like, great, but do you have it in writing? No. Okay, then great. Then we can't submit that as support of your defense. So great job on that, Dan.
Thanks.
I want to add one thing here before you begin again, Dan, is that,
Yep.
I dropped a link or a note in the chat for that square foot advisory. That form came out in June of 2020. So all of this activity that you're seeing in this timeline here occurred before we ever had a form to disclose square footage, a formal form from Car Legal. So, this was all proactively done even before there was a form to disclose. And Kathy Jackson asked a question, Dan, are you keeping track like this of your whole time or looking at your calendar and documents to put this timeline in order?
Yeah. So what I actually did is I just went back to my email chain, because really I pulled it kind of from my email conversation, because our email is kind of our historical record of our communication with the other side. So that's where all of those dates and information came from. But then I also knew that I had this text communication with the agent. And when I tell you it took me hours and hours, it probably took me 40 hours of trying to get the copy of the text chain, because you would think it would be so easy. I reached out to Verizon and said, hey, I've got this text on my phone. I can't figure out how to print it out. And they said, well, we don't store that in our system anymore. I said, but it's on my phone. It's active. This is the same provider I've been using the whole time. They literally couldn't do anything that was older than 30 days. So I had to go in and find the right app that would allow me to download the text that I needed. And it took.
Did Dan freeze up?
He did for me.
All
Yeah.
right, so here you go. He moved again. Dan, you froze for a little bit.
Sorry. So, but getting the text, that's why email is better.
Yeah.
Am I frozen again?
No, you're good.
So if anybody wants to talk more in detail about this, what I will do is say how the court case went. The guy suing me had to state his case to the judge. Counter any defense that I made. And the judge basically said to him, first of all, this is past the statute of limitations. Aware of that? And he said, yes, I was aware of that. So he acknowledged that. He couldn't justify why he was asking for $10,000, even though the judge spoon-fed him the opportunity to figure out the difference in price per square foot and all this other stuff. And he just wasn't picking up what the judge was putting down. So so the judge literally said to him, so you just chose the highest amount to sue this guy for. And in the end, he dismissed the case against me and said, I do think you may have a case for somebody, but it's not with Mr. Becker. It could be with one of the appraisers. It could be with your agent. I don't know. But at this point, your statute of limitations is up. So I don't know who you think you're going to sue next. That's essentially what he said. So the one thing I want to get across here is that when Mark and Robert are really wanting us to document all of this information, they're doing it with our best interest at heart, even if we want to strangle them in our sleep. So they really are looking out for us. And I couldn't have done this without both of them. Robert and Mark were both super helpful in allowing me the information, understanding the process, knowing what I needed to do when I went to court. And then my guardian agent, Deb Brown, came with me to court so that I had somebody to support me while I was there. And it was fantastic. So I was really grateful. I was really relieved when it was over. And I hope that nobody on this call has to go through something like this again. So.
And I would have been there as broker, but that was right when I was traveling cross country back from Chicago, because technically I should have been, but I did a broker statement for Dan to present to the court, which suffice. And I'm glad you prevailed. And then also one of the things you could have done, but you needed to do it before, was to countersue, because this was a lot of time you took.
Yeah, that's the thing. One of the things I didn't realize in small claims court, I could have countersued him. So, but I didn't understand that process. So I had included my time and expenses at the end and asked the judge about it. And he said, well, did you file a countersuit against him? And I said, no. If I had done that in advance and tacked it on to that court case, then I could have probably been reimbursed for my time and expenses for the work that I did. But at the very least, I scared the crap out of the guy suing me, so he knows that he was a real problem.
So you're getting a lot of kudos in the chat box, Dan. Victor did say that they use RingCentral and they can export their text messages to a text document. And I know somebody else asked what service did you use to export your text?
I honestly can't remember. I tried like 20 of them before I found one that would work with my phone, that would sync with my computer, that would allow me to do all of it. So,
do you have an Android or an Apple?
I have an Android.
Okay. Yeah, that's the issue. You Android people, you mess things up.
Yeah, well, that's because we're better.
You're the ones that turn our text chains green, Dan.
Well, not green is my favorite color.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time today. Mark, do you have any final thoughts you wanted to interject some stuff to?
The only thing I was thinking about was like, the importance of text messages versus emails. I mean, generally the email is what the DRE wants to see, an email log of what's happened. And my recommendation to agents is when you're writing emails, don't just put in the subject line Main Street and, have a question. Put the address in there, 123 Main Street, so that if you need to, you can go back and harvest all those emails, from your email client. The other thing that, DRE officially, they treat text messages as what they call ephemeral, not really a true record. But in this case, having them helped. So, it's like icing on the cake, or maybe if you want to use that old expression of wearing both a belt and suspenders to make sure your pants don't fall down, you'd be extra careful by having both of these things preserved.
I feel very called out about the belt and suspenders. Are you calling me fat?
Not at all.
And I can verify what Mark is saying because I've spent the last 4 days putting some stuff together for the DRE on another claim I'm working on, and it is not fun. So when the DRE wants information, they are ruthless, to say the least. So, well, Dan, I appreciate your time today. I hope you guys all learned something. And by the way, at every risk management meeting, I have in the PDF that gets sent out is how to set up a communication log with your files. And there's a direct link in there that Mark has put this document together on how to do that. And email is best. Text chains are great, but they're not always, like as Dan said, it took him 20 different apps to get the actual text chains out of his phone and to use as documentation of the conversation he's having about square footage. Next Wednesday will be risk management. We'll be going over again, we'll just be going over the NAR settlement, the new forms, and there's a lot of questions. I still have a lot of questions. But now, again, you should be using the BRBC with all your buyers you're working with today, because you probably won't be getting that buyer into escrow until after August 17th. And mark this date in your calendar, August 13th is when the CRMLS will remove the offer of compensation from the MLS. And we don't have the drop dead date from SDMLS. We're assuming it's going to be the 17th, but let's just go with the 13th date for both for now, because that's the safest. And once that offer of compensation is removed, you're going to have to guarantee and have that conversation about how you're going to be compensated with the buyer.
And you have to have that before you write an offer that's accepted.
And you need to upload that BRBC in Command an opportunity. So you're going to learn how to create the contact in Command, create an opportunity and upload that because we have to keep a record of all that now. So there's going to be a lot more tracking, unfortunately. Fun stuff. Thank you, NAR. And Burnett, Sitzer Burnett, and everybody else.
So much opportunity coming at you live. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Dan, for sharing. Thank you, Mark Miller, for helping in compliance. Send chocolates to whoever you want to send them to. That's what they told me. And next week, lunch and learn on trust, and then come on in and absorb all that great, exciting new car energy together. Bye, y'all. Have a great week.